Good morning, everybody. The committee will now come to order. Today, we're meeting to report the recommendations submitted to the Budget Committee pursuant to the reconciliation instructions set forth in Title II of H-Con Res 14, the concurrent resolution on the budget for fiscal year 2025. This one big, beautiful bill. Under the Congressional Budget Act of 1974, the Budget Committee is responsible for combining the reconciliation recommendations submitted by the following committees: Agriculture, Armed Services, Education and Workforce, Energy and Commerce, Financial Services, Homeland Security, Judiciary, Natural Resources, Oversight and Government Reform, Transportation and Infrastructure, and my committee, our committee, the most powerful committee in Congress, other than the Budget Committee, the Ways and Means Committee. Here, here. Okay, I have to say, that was a bipartisan, for the record, we already have some bipartisan support. We meet today to report the bill to the House without any substantive revision. The Rules Committee has the authority to make substantive changes and report a reconciliation bill as amended to the House floor. Before we begin opening statements, I'll describe the structure of today's markup under the agreement that I've reached with my friend, Mr. Boyle. Today's markup will be conducted as follows. Ranking member now each take 5 minutes, 5 magic minutes for an opening statement. Members will then each be recognized for 3 minutes to make opening statements. We will proceed then with a motion to report to the House the recommendation submitted to the Committee on the Budget pursuant to the reconciliation instructions in H-Con Res 14, the concurrent resolution on the budget for fiscal year 2025. Any request for a roll call vote on the motion to report the bill or the motions to instruct will be postponed until later in the markup after debate on all motions to instruct as concluded. We will consider a maximum of 4 motions to instruct from the list of motions provided in advance. These motions to instruct are non-binding and request that the chairman of the Budget Committee ask the Rules Committee to make certain amendments in order. On each motion, there will be a total of 10 minutes of debate, evenly divided. The proponent will be recognized for 4 minutes, after which the opponent will be recognized for 5 minutes before the proponent uses their final 1 minute to close. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize the Vice Chairman, Mr. Smucker of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent that the chairman be authorized to declare a recess at any time.
Without objection, so ordered. I'd like to thank everyone again for joining us here today to undergo an important responsibility of the Budget Committee in accordance with the Budget Act of 74, advancing this reconciliation bill to the House of Representatives, quote, without any substantive revision, end of quote. We will now move to opening statements, and I yield myself 5 minutes for opening remarks. Folks, I've said this from the beginning. This reconciliation bill is the principal legislative vehicle for advancing the full America First agenda to realize President Trump's vision and the House Republicans' unwavering commitment to making America safe and prosperous again. How? By making our borders secure again, by making our laws enforced again, by making our government efficient and accountable again, by making the economy free again, by making American energy dominant again, by making work and the dignity of work and self-reliance an American value again, and by making the spending of the sacred treasure of our citizens responsible again. Today, we stand on the precipice of a generational opportunity to make an unprecedented investment in the safety and security of the American people by equipping our Border Patrol agents and our sons and daughters in the armed services with the tools and resources to safely and successfully do the first and most important job of the federal government, to provide for the common defense. But we also have an urgent responsibility to put in place the policies that will unleash economic growth and future prosperity, reining in wasteful spending, and to begin restoring the fiscal health of our nation, which has been in rapid decline over the last couple of decades. I want to thank Speaker Johnson, Leader Scalise, and the entire conference leadership team for their patience, their resolve, and their steady hand throughout this process. I'm grateful for their commitment to regular order and to ensuring from the very beginning to the very end that this wouldn't be a top-down exercise. It would be truly a member-driven process. I want to thank my colleagues and the chairman of the 11 committees who worked tirelessly to meet the fiscal targets that this budget committee established in our resolution. No other budget committee and no other Congress from either party in the history of this budget committee has done more in a shorter period of time with the reconciliation initiative. A big reason that we were able to accomplish this is because of my budget committee colleagues, my Republican budget committee colleagues, and the seriousness and diligence in which they do their job, their commitment and their conviction to our mission to restore fiscal sanity in this town and in the people's house and in this institution. And I just want them to know that I've never been more proud to work with such committed patriots and public servants. So thank you all. Our budget reconciliation bill, the product of your hard work, folks, the fruit of your labor, is that we're going to advance the most comprehensive tax reform in the history of our great country. And other pro-growth policies that will rein in the regulatory state, that will help right-size the people's government, and that will begin reining in this runaway spending. And after all is said and done, we will reduce the debt to GDP by almost 10 percentage points. And all of this while making a record investment in the security and defense of the United States of America. So it is one big, beautiful bill, but it's only one big, beautiful, and balanced bill because of the folks that you see up here on the dais, my Republican colleagues, and their hard work and leadership. And everybody, our party, our country, and our fellow Americans will be well served because of your efforts. And by the way, we did it with the smallest majority in the House in 100 years. In Washington, people say, when all is said and done, more is said than done. May that not be true of the 119th Congress. Today, let's make good on the American people's mandate by taking President Trump's America First vision and this America First policy agenda and making them a reality in the lives of our fellow citizens. Remember, the American people have spoken. They want a strong country. They want competent leaders. They want common sense policies. And they want from all of us a commitment to putting America and Americans first. Let's give the people what they voted for. And with that, I yield 5 minutes to my friend and ranking member, Mr. Boyle from Pennsylvania.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will agree this is a big bill for billionaires. Now, we will hear over the course of this hearing a vigorous debate. And frankly, there is a strong divide between Republicans and some other Republicans. There is also a divide between both sets of Republicans and this side of the dais. I can speak at least as to why it is every Democratic member will be voting no on the bill for billionaires. Simply put, besides all of the other important issues involved in this bill, this is the overarching truth. It is the biggest tax cuts for billionaires in American history, paid for by throwing 13.7 million Americans off their health care coverage. Now, those aren't my claims. That is not subjective. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office just this week confirmed that at least 13,700,000 Americans will lose their health care if the GOP bill for billionaires becomes law. That is bad economics. It is unconscionable. Even conservative Republican Senator Josh Hawley called it morally wrong. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Josh Hawley is right. Now, as to the part where I say this bill's for billionaires, you will hear throughout this debate, as we heard often over the course of the long markups of this week, Republican after Republican members say they must pass this bill, otherwise the tax cuts won't be extended for the American people. That's a disingenuous argument. And Democrats in the Ways and Means Committee proved it. Here's what I mean. Over the course of an 18-hour debate, a markup that began early afternoon and lasted until 8 a.m. the following morning, this side of the aisle offered amendment after amendment to protect the tax cuts for every single American making less than $1 billion. Do you know those who make $1 billion a year or more are less than 0.001% of the American people? Every Democrat voted for that amendment. Every Democrat voted to protect the tax cuts for at least 99.999% of the American people. And every Republican voted against it. The reality is, this is delivering the biggest bounty of tax cuts for multimillionaires and billionaires in American history, paid for on the backs of the poor and the working poor and the middle class in this country. The American people were asked in a poll I saw not too long ago, do you support cutting Medicaid in order to pay for tax cuts? 81% of the American people said no. A majority of Democrats, a majority of independents, and here's the thing, a majority of Republicans even said they oppose this radical agenda. So you can see why Democrats have proudly stood united against this piece of legislation. This will do real damage to the American people. You know, our Republican colleagues have been on a 15-year quest to repeal Obamacare. In this piece of legislation, they will come closer to their ultimate goal than ever before. I referenced the 13,700,000 Americans who will lose their health care if this bill passes. About half of that comes from decimating the Affordable Care Act. Folks, we know what happened 8 years ago. They had their repeal of the ACA pass the House of Representatives. But then in the Senate, a few brave Senate Republicans stood up and gave it a famous thumbs down. I hope there'll be a few House Republicans who will join with us either today or on the floor if it gets that far next week and protect the health care of millions of Americans. Say no to the big bill for billionaires. With that, I yield back.